All right, welcome back to this week's Breakout Watchlist from September 6th to September 9th. I know this is a shortened trading week with the market closed on Monday, but I still wanted to get the video out for you on Sunday to give you more time to prepare. In this video, we'll be covering the top 10 setups coming into the week. Each of these stocks either have strong fundamentals, strong technicals, or strong volume patterns that lead to uptrends. This video is sponsored by MarketSmith, which is the trading research platform that we're going to be using to break down each of the setups. So if you like what you see and want to give it a try yourself, there's a link in the description below. Here's a list of the 10 stocks that we're going to be covering in this video. And this week, there's no one individual group that really dominates the list, which is different from prior weeks. I don't want to spend too much time here because we got a lot of charts to go over. The first stock that we'll cover is AXNX. This comes from Medical Systems Equipment, which is the 17th strongest group out of 197. You can see right up here. So that's an A group strength rating. This has a B overall accumulation distribution rating, meaning many of the heavy volume days come on up days, and then the low volume days come on days where the stock's pulling back in, which is constructive. Overall, this has a composite rating of 87, an individual relative strength rating of 95, which is nice to see. And within that group of 74 stocks, this is 5th strongest on relative strength and composite basis. What I'm looking at here is if we go out to the weekly chart, you can see a really nice double bottom pattern here where we came in to the low around $42. The second pullback undercut that low, really shaking out the weaker hands, pulling into 38. Then going back to the daily chart, so you have first pullback, second pullback, undercutting the low of the first. Then we rally up right around the previous highs, around $80. This was around 75 to the highs. And then since then, we've put in 4 tight weeks, right around $70, sometimes breaking under the 21 EMA, but never closing well under that. And we have a 2-day pivot with the last 2 days highs right around the same price, 72.22, 72.25. So a break over Friday's high of 72.25 is a potential entry point for AXNX. The next stock that we'll cover is CCJ, and that's a uranium stock. I know it's classified as metal mining and ores, which is 165th out of 197. So that broader group isn't very strong. But last week, uranium stocks really got going on Monday. This was up 9.3% on Monday. And then as the market came in and really sold off, it attempted to push higher to this $30 pivot, but eventually just kind of pulled back to the 8-day EMA on lower volume than it got out, which is nice to see. So if the market finds its footing sometime next week, this showed great relative strength trying to break out on Monday and really holding that 8-day EMA the rest of the week. So I'll be looking for, if the market continues to act weak, coming back into the 8-day EMA and trying to build a position around $28. Otherwise, on strength, if this really gets going, breaking over Friday's high, $29.50, and then a possible add spot at breaking over 30. If the market's strong, I want this to get going for CCJ. The next stock that we'll cover is CEIX. This is in the energy and coal group, which is the 12th strongest group out of 197 for an A+ group strength rating. There are a couple other stocks within the coal group that I was potentially going to put on the list, so just want to cover really quick. AMR holding up relatively well, and then ARLP. Both of those were on my general watch list, but decided to put CEIX in this video just because it's holding up a little bit stronger than the other two. This is riding that 21 EMA higher. Eventually kind of topped out just under $80, pulled back to that 21 EMA, and then really just tightened up through the rest of last week. We're looking for a break over Friday's high, $73 as a potential entry point. And just going through the rest of the stats here, B+ accumulation distribution, 97 overall composite with a 99 individual relative strength rating. Again, this is the 12th strongest group. Out of the 12 stocks that make up that group, this is number 1 on relative strength and number 5 overall composite basis. So really liking how it gets supported at the 21 EMA each time it pulls back in. And after a little bit of consolidation, we have a nice pivot at a whole number, $73 as our potential entry point. Next, we have our first biotech stock in the video, CPRX. A+ group strength rating because biotech's the 3rd strongest group in the market. This also has an earnings per share rating of 98, which is very impressive. Accumulation distribution, A+. Overall composite rating, 99. Individual relative strength rating, 99. So not only is it strong fundamentally, strong technically, in a strong group, really adding probability to the trade. Within the group of 801 stocks, this is number 1 on relative strength, number 1 overall composite basis. And we do see fund ownership increasing. So big money continues to flow into the stock, making it more liquid. About 2 million shares traded a day, so you don't typically see really wide and loose action. This topped out around $15, just under 15, no, 15.07. Since then, we did pull back to the 21 EMA on Thursday, just touched that and then rallied to close right at the high of the day, up 3.25% on a relatively, or that was the day that the market kind of rallied back. And then on Friday, we put in higher highs, higher lows, but closed lower in the range. If we continue to see market weakness, I want to see this kind of pull back into that 21 EMA and grab some shares right around there to keep my risk under either the previous days or the previous low here, just under $13. Or if the market just rips on Tuesday, Wednesday, the beginning of the week, looking for a break over 14, kind of the high from Thursday, as our potential entry point for CPRX. Next we have CRK. This is an oil and gas exploration, 36th strongest group out of 197. So A- group strength rating, 97 earnings per share rating, C+ accumulation distribution. That is on the weaker end, so that's kind of like one strike against the setup, but overall composite rating, 99, individual relative strength rating, 99. Strong stock in a strong group with strong fundamentals, just doesn't have kind of that volume pattern that we looked for. This really kind of pulled back. When oil and gas was rolling over, I really thought it was the top for oil and gas, but I was wrong. We put in the low, around a 50% drop, rallied up to $14 or $17, pulled back into 15, nice little base there, rallied back up. So last time it pulled back in, it did undercut the 21 EMA once, but then kind of consolidated and then pushed higher. Last week, I think this was on Wednesday, came back in, bounced right at the 21 EMA as well, this pink line, and now we're consolidating a little bit lower. So looking for a break over Friday's high, 1940 as a potential entry point for CRK. Next, we go to Enphase Energy, ENPH. This is an energy solar, which right now is the strongest group in the market out of 197. First Solar, FSLR, is another stock in that solar group that you should have on your watch list, but in this video, we're going to be covering ENPH. It's got an earnings per share rating of 98, a group strength rating of A+, accumulation distribution B+, overall composite rating 99, individual relative strength rating 98. So strong stock, strong fundamentals in a strong group. Go to a weekly chart really quick. You can see we kind of based out for many weeks, many months, and then eventually on the previous earnings, we popped up about 34%, and we've really been tightening up just under 300. I know we've broken over 300 a few times, but there is some resistance there. That's why I would rather buy it a little bit lower, and then knowing there's resistance at 300, kind of sell a portion into that to lock in some gains. I don't love that this is under the 21 EMA, but it's been kind of tightening up and pulling back on lower than average volume, so it's not the end of the world to me. But I don't want to be buying on additional weakness, if that makes sense, because both times buyers stepped in around 270, 272 area, but I don't want to be buying on weakness. I want to be buying on strength on this one. So looking for kind of a recapture of both the 21 and the 8-day EMA and Friday's high, 287.70 on this. With First Solar, that's been a little bit stronger. It hasn't come back to test the 8-day or the 21 EMA yet. So if this has a more constructive pattern in the second half of the week, I'd probably be focusing on that. But right now, because we've gone through the digestion period in ENPH, it's been pulling back on lower than average volume. And on a weekly chart, it looks really tight action after a nice move. We're going to have that on the watch list today. Next, we go to EVH, which is in computer software medical, 50th strongest group out of 197. B+ group strength rating, C- accumulation distribution. Again, that's a warning, first warning sign, but overall 97 composite rating, 97 individual relative strength rating. Very strong fundamentals year over year. And within the group of 35 stocks, this is number 3 on relative strength and number 2 overall composite. In fund ownership, we do see a slight increase from 406 to 411 from March to June. Looking at the chart, I had this on Breakout Watchlist before. I think this was back in July or so. But since then, it did press up to $39, had a very quick decline, kind of loose action in here. But since then, now we're kind of tightening up above a rising 21 EMA. You can see kind of a 3-day pivot, and we're looking for a break over Thursday's high, 37.28 as a potential entry point. And you can also draw just not the cleanest, but a downtrend line through that area. So looking for a break over the downtrend line, over Thursday's high in the stock with strong fundamentals and kind of a character change of price tightening up above those moving averages versus this wide and loose action we saw before that. So EVH, break over Thursday's high. Next, we have FUTU. This is in finance investing banks, 47th out of 197. This is a Chinese-based company, and we saw Chinese stocks kind of catch a bid last week, and that's why I want to have two of them. I have FUTU and PDD on my watch list going into next week. Group strength rating, A-, accumulation distribution, A-, overall composite rating, 92, individual relative strength rating, 94. You can look to the left of the chart, and I mean, going to a weekly chart, this was a disastrous sell-off, right? From 200 all the way down to like $23. So this isn't going to be a stock that I buy here and then hold hoping it goes back to previous highs. That's not what we're about. We're just trying to swing trade, find areas where we can manage our risk and get that asymmetrical risk reward. Most recently, this has been getting a ton of heavy volume days as it bounced back. This had earnings last week. 31% earnings per share growth, 10% sales growth, but really it was the reaction to earnings that was more impressive. This volume buzz, 232%, the average daily volume. The previous day was about 100% more than the average daily volume. And if we go to a 30-minute chart, you can see we're kind of tightening up right below $50. So we're looking for a break over 50.18 as a potential entry point. Maybe get a piece in with the break over 50 because this is going to move fast if it does have that upward thrust. And then managing our risk pretty quickly on these because we know there's overhead supply. It got rejected at 57. We're still kind of working our way through stage one where this bottomed out in March and then Chinese stocks had that rally in June, July, then kind of pulled back again, and now we're catching another bid. So we always want to be focusing on what group of stocks, what theme is catching the most money. And last week, that was uranium stocks and Chinese stocks. So FUTU, break over 50.18, potential entry point there. Got two more stocks for you. This one is MNTK. This is an energy alternative or other, which is the fourth strongest group out of 197. I was also looking at ENPH in this group, but I thought MNTK was holding up a little bit better above both the 8 and the 21 EMAs. Closed right at the 8-day EMA on Friday, but A+ group strength rating, B accumulation distribution, 96 overall composite with a 98 individual relative strength rating. Its most recent earnings had earnings per share growth of 533% year over year, sales up 114, and after-tax profit margins improving by 28%. We do see fund ownership continue to improve on this IPO, 88 to 94 to 160 in June. And within this group, very strong group, fourth strongest group. Out of the 49 stocks that make up the group, this is number 1 on relative strength and number 2 overall composite basis. Going into the chart, you see really kind of wide and loose action up here in the cup. We got out, broke into a new high through, about $19. Then we pulled back, did bounce on Thursday at the 21 EMA. Remember, Thursday, that's when we gapped down and pushed a little lower for the first half of the day and then had that monster rally to close off the day. And instead of gapping up like we did on Friday on the indexes and then selling off, this kind of just opened, had an inside day, but closed up 5.5%, really just put in an inside day on lower than average volume. Going to a 30-minute chart here, you can see a downtrend line that we're working with. I don't need to draw it, but I'm looking for a break over this 17.5 area. I know there's some resistance up top here, but I do want to get a majority of my position in before 17.5 and kind of sell into that overhead supply there for MNTK. And last stock that we'll cover today is PDD. This is in internet retail, which itself is a weak group, 161 out of 197, but it is really that Chinese factor that caught a really strong bid. I mean, look at this volume over the last 2 weeks. Massive, massive volume. Unlike FUTU, this stock is already back over its previous highs in June. And really just a technical setup. I mean, it has A, accumulation distribution, 95 composite, 97 individual relative strength. So it does check a lot of those boxes. And it should be dominating its group because it's a weak group. 161 out of 197, and it is dominating. It's second on relative strength, number 1 on overall composite, and third out of 61 on accumulation distribution. Going to a 30-minute candle, you can see this really didn't sell off much at all last week. It continued to rally at the end of the day to close high in the daily range, and we saw a very, very tight price action. While the indexes were selling off, this was just tightening up right near the highs there. So looking for a break over 72.60 maybe even the high of the day, $73 as a potential entry point, but nice tight action, great relative strength in a theme that was working last week, fighting against the downtrend in the market. So break over $73 for PDD is a potential entry point. And that's going to be the breakout watch list for the shortened upcoming week. If you guys enjoyed the video, please do me a huge favor and leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I make this breakout watch list video every Sunday, go live on Tuesday nights, and then do other trading related videos. A big thanks to MarketSmith for sponsoring the video. MarketSmith was a trading research platform that we were using to break down each of the setups, so if you guys enjoyed that and want to give it a try yourself, there's a link in the description below. And finally, if you want to hear more from me throughout the day, you can follow me on the other social media sites. I'm at Nick_Drendel on StockTwits, Instagram, and TikTok, and at Nick Drendel on Twitter. I hope you enjoy your day off on Monday, and then join me for the trading live stream on Tuesday night.